Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 122, and as you can see by the title, we are going to begin the Jaws of Hakkon, I guess is how you pronounce it, DLC, the first of three items of DLC for Inquisition. Hopefully rather sizable ones, but I suppose we'll see. I do have a lot to talk about, including that awesome ending cutscene, which you may have noticed there was no voiceover to it. That's because I actually stopped recording, and then I had this thought that, there might be a post-credits scene, because that seems like something Bioware would do. So I hit record, but I didn't have my microphone set to pick up, so I couldn't actually narrate it. But that cutscene and one other thing I discovered in the past week had me really excited about this game again, because the ending, as I said at the time, it could have been better. But I'll talk about all that as we go. I figure I should probably actually start doing some content, and I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities to discuss those things as we go. So, looking at the quest log here, we still have the collections we could always go back and do, but we've done all the cool ones I said before. Trespasser is our main quest, quote-unquote, and I think this is probably going to be the one that relates most to sort of what we learned at the end of the original game, so I'm really excited about that one. But it's probably going to be the last one we do, just because I'm one of those guys that likes to save the best for last. So that's what we're going to do, and I think the other two DLCs got pretty good reviews as well, so I'm looking forward to doing those. They just might not relate to the main quest as much. And these two DLCs, the Jaws of Hakkon and the Descent, are not really related to the main quest, so you can do them even before you kill Corypheus if you'd like. The last one, Trespasser, has to be done after the main quest. Sort of more like Golem's Amgarak or Witch Hunt. Probably most similar to Witch Hunt, I would imagine. We don't have any new quests here. We have Deep Roads, which is the one expansion, and apparently to start the expansion we're doing today, or DLC, I guess I should say, it's not a full expansion pack. You have to do a Investigate Frostback Basin quest at the War Table. So that's what we're going to do. Now, this may trigger the beginning of Trespasser as well, just by going in here, so if it does, so be it. But at the first opportunity we get, we're going to start doing the... Am I saying that right? Jaws of Hakkon, not Hakkon. Hakkon, so I assume we'll hear it pronounced at some point. Alright, so let's see what we have here. Attend the Exalted Council, so that will begin the Trespasser one.
So, Liliana, should I bow whenever you come into the room now?
The ceremony is not for a while.
It will be strange to see you and think, there walks divine Victoria.
Then let us enjoy these moments while they last, as colleagues.
Nor as friends.
What's this? A breach in decorum?
Perish the thought.
I like they acknowledge that, oh, we have another quest here. That, she's going to be divine now. I guess she's the, what do they call it? Divine apparent, I guess? Or presumptive. That's divine presumptive. Like when, a president is, yeah, somebody's going to be president, but they're not actually sworn in yet. Alright. So, Disaster in the Deep Roads, of course, is the one for... Oh, I've already investigated this. Alright, cool. I guess not knowing that it was part of the DLC, I never actually went back to do it.
You've styled your hair that way for ages now, Liliana. Why don't we do something new with it?
I'm used to the way it is.
What about our commander?
He does something with his hair already.
Oh, it does look very nice today.
I don't...
You mean it just gets that way on its own?
Not entirely.
Cullen does kind of seem like the type that would spend a long time on his hair. Alright, so we can actually go there at any time to begin it. So that's what we'll do. Let me send out whatever this one is first, though. Ismus Goodson now resides in Allied Lord's Tower Cell, attended by polite but hood servants. Oh, I remember this one. Alright, cool. So, okay, we sent her on that one. We just got back our reward. I gotcha. Not really a point in sending out resources, so I'm not going to. I guess we're going to go ahead and head to the Frostback Basin then. We've scouted the region and set up camp. Professor Kenrick has the scouts gathering anything they can find. So far, we've uncovered a lot of very old buckles. Hopefully this yields something more exciting. Anyone who comes here should be ready for hostile wildlife and angry Avar. This place is dangerous. Scout Harding. Well, I'm excited, because despite its flaws, I do really enjoy playing this game, and even just like logging in again and seeing all the stuff makes me excited to play it. And it looks like for the DLC we'll probably be using the same companions as well, minus Solus, of course, because he's gone. Which is good, because one of the things I didn't like about the ending is that I didn't have enough time to really... I thought it was going to be longer, essentially, is the my main complaint. That's my only and my, well, not only, my largest complaint is I wish there was more ending. But one of the sort of ramifications of that is that by not having a lot of time in the ending, I didn't get to use my companions as much as I would like. So let's take Cole, Vivian, Iron Bull. Why not? Give them a little bit more screen time. Because who do we use? The ones I actually spent the most time with at the end were the ones I took to the Temple of Mythal. Which I guess Iron Bull was one of those, but I think it was Sarah and Vivian, so not really my favorites. And I kind of really wish I had taken Solus there in retrospect. It was cool to have him there for the final battle, but I think he would have given a lot more. Apparently he does have quite a number of special lines there in the Temple of Mythal. So anyway, there it is. What's done is done. Sometimes that's part of a blind let's play too. Sometimes you make good decisions and bring like Iron Bull to the Hissing Waste where he gets to tell those stories. Not Iron Bull. It was Blackwell that had the stories. Although I think I read somewhere that Iron Bull actually has a story to tell as well if you bring him. But didn't bring Solus to the temple because I figured it'd be more useful to have him later on. I don't want to talk during this part because at any second it's going to start doing the cutscene. Here we go.
Good to see you again, Inquisitor. Allow me to introduce Professor Bram Kenrick. He's the reason we're out here.
A pleasure to meet you, Your Worship.
Professor Kenrick teaches at the University of Orlais.
I came on an exchange program from Starkhaven. While in Val Royeaux, I've found something incredible. After 800 years, we may be able to determine the final resting place of the last Inquisitor.
Alright, that's pretty cool. Actually, I'm glad too. I didn't know if my hair mod would actually show up in the DLC areas, because I know it doesn't in the Black Emporium. So I was worried, but at least here it shows up, so that's good. This guy does remind me a little bit of Sebastian too, who was also from Starkhaven. So that's interesting. That would be kind of cool to know more about my predecessor, since they really don't mention much about her in the game. Oh, there's one of my... I guess I'll say this, even though I actually don't know anything about him or her, since my character knows it, but I do not.
The texts say that Inquisitor Emeridon was a dragon hunter who vanished on his last expedition.
Yes, precisely. I see you've read Lautrec's Precursors to the Chantry. Inquisitor Emeridon stepped down shortly before the Nevarran Accord brought the Seekers of Truth into the Chantry. He hunted demons, dragons, and dangerous apostates in a time before Templars even existed.
I'm all for history if it means tracking down the equipment of a famous demon hunter.
Maybe I did read about that guy. I read about somebody that did something similar. That like walked off at the end. They never found his final resting place. I don't remember if it was the Inquisitor though or somebody else. I feel like maybe it was like a Grey Warden or a... I don't know. It could have been one of the original Inquisitors. It's annoying me that I can't remember what codex that was, but I'm sure you guys do. I feel like it was in the Emerald Graves maybe? Who knows.
If the last Inquisitor has been missing for 800 years, it's only fitting that today's Inquisition help find him.
Your scouts have gathered artifacts from the area. They may help us discover what Inquisitor Emeridon was doing.
I have news as well. We've encountered hostile Avar to the north. They call themselves the Jaws of Hakkon.
Title drop.
There's also an Avar hold to the east. Unlike the Jaws of Hakkon, they've been friendly so far.
The Jaws of Hakkon?
They're hostile Avar who attack any Inquisition agents or researchers who get close. We've sent soldiers for defense, but the Hakkonites are cunning, merciless, and know the basin better than we do. I'm afraid our men will not be able to hold out long.
I thought we could catch up.
Anytime, Inquisitor.
Okay. Guess we'll talk to Harding for a bit. Or... yeah, I guess we haven't asked for any of these yet, because they're probably all DLC items.
They say you grew up in a village. Where did you learn how to fight? Draw a bow? All that?
Here and there. You pick things up as a little dwarf girl in a village filled with piggish Ferelden boys. I'm no artist with a blade. I just know what hurts, and what takes them down quick. Bruised a shin or two in my day, and a few, you know, other things.
I'm sure.
And archery? Oh, there was a traveling hunter who set me up with my first bow and taught me the basics. After that, I practiced on my own. On squirrels, mostly. Oh, and Heinrich from next door, but only with padded arrows.
I feel like she has an interesting backstory.
I hear you have family in Ferelden.
Yes, my mother and father. I insisted they move to Denerim once I signed up with the Inquisition. Ambassador Montelier tells me I should invite them to Skyhold. She thinks they'd be proud of me. But after Haven, I just can't, you know? It's not that I don't trust you or our soldiers, it's just... I just want them to be safe. And if that means they don't get to see things firsthand, that's okay.
Yeah, I can understand
My mother
that.
likes writing letters anyway.
And I guess Denerim is about as safe as you're going to get in Ferelden. Still not totally safe, as the last Blight showed us, but seems to be doing pretty well now. After all, I'm sure half the army is there defending the king and queen, so they can defend her parents as well.
What do you think about the Avar?
When I was a little girl, a lady in our village used to tell me Avar tales. Being able to see their lives up close, it's nothing like I thought. They're very tall, aren't they? I was considering a proposal for Commander Cullen. Avar allies with dwarven archers astride their shoulders.
Oh, I like the way she thinks. We should keep her around. For mayhem.
Yes, mayhem.
For Mayhem. Project Mayhem. Alright, go on.
All right, get it out of your system.
Mayhem! It's funny how a word loses its meaning when you say it enough times.
Indeed. Alright, so about the Avar, it's interesting that they're kind of going to be the main focus here. It's not a area of the lore that I'm particularly interested in, but it's one they haven't really fleshed out much, so there's definitely a lot they can do with it. And it'll be interesting to see what the Avar, I think, are one of 3 ancient tribes who inhabited Ferelden, along with the Chastened and I forget what they were called, but the tribes that I think Andraste came from. Wasn't she from one of the Avar tribes? No, I feel like it was something different. But anyway, the 3rd tribe eventually kind of became more civilized and became the natives of Ferelden, while the Chastened moved southward, and the Avars moved into the mountains, where they dwell in small tribes to this day. I think that's the lore, more or less, in a nutshell. People can correct me if I missed something there.
Have you spoken to Kenrick much?
A bit. He's quite nice, isn't he? And clever. Really loves his books. I said hello one day while he had his nose buried in a giant tome. His shriek was a winner. I can't stop doing it now. It's too funny.
Didn't mean to do that.
Goodbye then.
Sorry, Harding. Didn't mean to scare you off. I still have questions. Wait, come back.
Have you seen the plans for the new camps? Tree houses. It all sounds awful and precarious.
Hey, it's Elvish.
I thought we could catch up.
Of course.
How do you like the Frostback Basin?
It's lovely, isn't it? At least until you step in a pile of bogfisher poo. The stuff's vile. It makes great fuel for starting fires, though, if you can tolerate the smell. I might suggest that to the commander. It could be great for sieges.
You want to use animal crap as a weapon. That seems underhanded.
Who said war
But
was
effective.
fair? I'd only recommend its use as a last resort.
I mean, they used to send the heads of the fallen as... Wait, or was that in Lord of the Rings? That might be Lord of the Rings. Anyway.
We defeated Corypheus. I thought you'd have returned to your old life.
After everything I've seen, I don't think I could ever go back to my old life. Could you? I can't just pretend. I can't just pretend I'm the same person. I got a letter from my mother. She was happy the breach was sealed. She had no idea what we went through. And I don't have the heart to tell her.
She can read about it in a few years once it's a little less close.
We'll continue this another time.
Safe travels.
I keep thinking of things to talk about, but is she only standing on one leg? No, she has 2 legs. Okay, good. 2 legs are better than 1. So we have level ups to do. Let's go ahead and do those while we can. Oh, but yeah, what I was going to say is that even though you can do this before or after the main quest, they do make some dialogue references to whether or not you defeated Gryphius. Alright, this is all done. Who is this? Cole. If you're flanking enemies, you get extra threat reduction. Sure, I don't know how much he actually flanks, but we'll go with that. So part of me kind of wishes I had done these before defeating Gryphius, like I normally do, to kind of build up the excitement. But then again, I probably would have even been even more disappointed if I had done that, because the more build up you have to the final fight, the more epic it needs to be to fulfill that. So maybe it's kind of better I did it this way. I heard somebody even refer to Trespasser as the real ending of Inquisition, so once again, I'm building my hopes up, and let's hope they don't get built up too high. Vivienne. We were going to give her some... We already gave her Blizzard and upgraded, didn't we? She doesn't use Ice Mine anymore. She does use Winter's Breath, but that's already upgraded. I could go towards that one, I guess. See, they add extra abilities with the expansion, but they don't... It's an either-or thing, so there's not really a huge point to upgrade them. I guess I can grab this. Makes enemies less likely to attack you. That, or I could go for this one eventually. Do these both chill targets? Damages and chills. Cool. Blizzard chills, I'm assuming. Yeah. Alright, let's make... We're not going to use Fade Step, but I want to make my way to Frost Mastery. And apparently Fade Step is a really good ability on, like, harder difficulties, because you can use it to evade damage when you're playing tactically. But we're only doing normal mode, so it's not that big of a deal. Iron Bull. He doesn't have room for Devour, but I kind of want to get it anyway, because it seems fun. Dragon Rage, is that new? I feel like that's new. Part of me also wants to do like a second playthrough with like an Iron Bull type character, like a Kunari warrior, maybe a Dwarven warrior, like two-handed weapons, and probably the whatever that one's called, Ravager or I think it's Ravager. But we'll see if I do that, and if I do, I may or may not record it. Now this one we actually do have, so let's upgrade this. Pulls enemies towards you. For a tank, that sounds pretty useful. Is that everybody? That's everybody. Cool. Alright, well, I upgraded my potions before we started, so that's good to go. It seems like my armor dies are the same, which is also good. They didn't change that with the DLC. So, let's see. Professor Kenrick has a lead. Alright, we've already talked to Harding, so I guess we can talk to the professor now. We can take out some of the... We can meet our Avar allies or take out our Avar enemies. We have some camps to make here, so they basically just added a whole new zone. Which is, you know, decent for a DLC. I assume there'll be some like dungeons and things as well. Maybe even another second zone. Less sure about that one though. And obviously you get like items and things with this as well. Schematics. And of course there's still Fade Rifts, which doesn't make a lot of sense now because I think they should all be closed since we defeated Gryphius, but whatever. That's another thing that in one review somebody mentioned a sense of the main plot. They actually thought the main plot was kind of weak, which I actually disagree with. I like the main plot, but then again I'm kind of a lore buff, so I guess he's up here.
You've heard about Jace.
I have.
Jace who? But yeah, they said there's like a weak villain, and they didn't. The storyline was kind of confusing, which I guess it could be if you're not really, especially if you haven't played the first two games, then I can see it being really confusing. All right, let me read this real quick. Professor Bram Kenrick, the requested supplies have been sent to your current location from the university, including ink, books, and 3 Divine Age buckles for purposes of comparison. Everything should arrive shortly after you. Also, I fed the fish, but I'm not talking to it for you. Alright, so it seems like an interesting character. Let me finish my current train of thought, though. But I do think the one change I would make if I had designed the game is that I wouldn't have had the Inquisition close the breach so early on. Like, it's one thing... Because really, the main threat to Ferelden and Orlais in this, and all of Thedas really in the game, is just one guy, Crifius. And I actually thought he was a pretty cool enemy because of his connection to the lore and what he represented. But and we'll get a little more into that later on as well. But I really think if they had had this giant hole in the sky the entire game, and your quest was like to close, and really it would have made so much sense to say, hey, the only way to close the breach is to get that elven orb he has. It's how he opened it. That's what we need to close it. And you could have had this breach open the entire time, constantly spilling demons into the world that have to be held back by your forces. You still could have moved from Haven. It might even been a good reason to move from Haven to Skyhold, as if the breach unleashes too many demons to contain and the whole area gets overrun. But I mean, I just think the breach in the sky was a really good sort of way of making it feel like it actually was the end times, and a really good overall threat for the game. And I think closing that by defeating Crifius could have been a better way to go about having a main threat in the game. The Blight was the threat in the first game. The second game was kind of shaky with the Qunari and the Templar Mage threat, but at least it was, consistent throughout. Here it was like, the breach is this horrible thing. Oh, we closed it. But now we know who made it, and he's the threat. And now he's trying to enter the Fade, and that's the threat. And it was kind of, and then you stop doing that, and there's just back to, oh, Crifius is the threat again. So it was kind of back and forth. I'll agree with them there. I think it would have been a lot better game if they had just made the breach the main kind of threat the entire time.
Not surprising. Do you know much of her?
We're talking about Liliana. Kind of trailed off though. But yeah, so I think it would have been better if they had had that as the way to sort of end the game and stop the threat the entire time. Another note here. Lady Harding, I could use the opinion of an expert, though impressive, the victory outlined on the marked page could not have been achieved as stated from Bram. Sure it could if you had enough apples, Harding. Alright, not sure I want to know what that's about.
He went first because he wanted to fight. Taking point, then point take him, red on his neck.
I was just thinking about... Wait, you in my mind again, kid?
Even if you went in first, there would have been another fight. Another time he didn't listen. It wasn't your fault.
Yes, it was. I was in charge. Should have found a way to... Hey, that's pretty good. We could use that.
You can use sadness.
Ben Hasrath, kid. We can use anything.
It's kind of weird too how he has the Qunari symbol on his shoulder, but we'll just assume we found the armor that way, and we tried to dye it out, but didn't do a perfect job with it. Alright. Let's go talk to the professor before I continue ranting about the ending and other lore topics I want to discuss as well. Another book. Preparations. His little checklist. So it seems like he'll be an interesting character, which kind of makes me think if they're building up this character, he might even not be who he says he is, just a theory. Lots of notes in here. I'm not going to read all that. I guess I'll keep looting things. Not that it really matters. Another book about Inquisitor Ameridan. Little is known about him. He was a friend of Emperor Draken. Was an Inquisitor, obviously. When the Accord was signed, he left his position and departed, never to be seen again. The facts alone are disputed. Everything else is uncorroborated hearsay, broad speculation, or salacious rumor-mongering. He did not willingly cede power. Drakon forced the Seekers of Truth to disband upon pain of death, then removed the Inquisitor. Or he was forced to retire due to the still young Chantry's restrictions requiring celibacy, and he was involved in a relationship with a mysterious lady mage. Or he was a rowdy noble who cared more for raucous entertainment than for the Seekers. Alright, so we're not really sure what's true about him, it seems, but... Why do I have the feeling we're going to meet him in person? That seems like a very Bioware thing to do. It would be to find a way for him to survive the ages. Sort of like the elves we met, who, and it makes sense. Their sleep, the way they survived so long was, that's, what do they call it? Starts with the U. Uthanera is their eternal sleep. It just wasn't so eternal for them because they kept waking up to defend their fortress. And Abulas, who Sarah mentioned, a couple of people mentioned as well, Abulas is the main guy we talked to. And I don't remember him introducing himself, which is why I didn't connect the name with him, but maybe he did at some point and I just missed it. That's quite possible. Anyway, as for the here and now, Professor Bram.
Scout Harding has an impressive team. Her people brought back a number of artifacts.
I probably should just done a whole episode of me talking about things, but that might have been boring, so Anyway.
Have you been able to locate Inquisitor Emeriden's resting place?
If only it were that easy. After 800 years, we can't just look for tracks. Barring enchantment, cloth and leather will have long since rotted away. Only metal and stone remain recognizable. Complicating this are recent pieces the Avar left behind, and of course ancient pieces dating back to Tevinter. Fortunately, thanks to some period-specific buckling, I've been able to track our last Inquisitor.
Now it makes sense. Ironpull, you are right in the way.
You said there were pieces dating back to Tevinter.
Yes, while it's rare to see Tevinter ruins so far south, the Imperium once had an outpost of some sort here.
Their highway did go this far
They
down.
might have built it as a ritual site. I'm not sure what military value it could have. In any event, it's muddled up the research slightly, but I've accounted for it.
You lost me at buckling.
You'd think that a buckle was a buckle. But ever since people started belting on weapons, they've been adding bits. One piece here has a dragon engraving. With the alloys of the metals used, it's clearly Tevinter. While this one uses a clasp that wasn't invented until the dawn of the Elysian Empire. And when it comes to historical research, you might say we have to buckle down.
I see what you did there. It makes sense though. That's how real archaeologists operate. Anything they can get that'll give them clues to date things.
What do you have, Professor?
Everything so far points to the shore not far to the south. There was some sort of battle near the shoreline. They were in a hurry. The scouts reported an island near an Avar fishing camp, but the Avar won't say much about it.
What makes you think the last Inquisitor was fighting?
There's a clasp here common to armor links. It's clearly torn. That only happens from a heavy shearing blow, like large claws or an axe. Then there's the dagger. Silverite, with a stylized dragon pommel and an inscription reading Cordilis. That dagger had to be a gift from Cordilis Draco, first Emperor of Orlais. No one would just lose such a thing.
Seems like a rare artifact.
What can you tell me about the Avar fishing camp?
Not much. It's the friendly Avar, not these jaws of Hakkon barbarians. According to the scouts, they wouldn't say much about the area. Likely a local superstition.
Alright, guess it's up to us then.
I'll find a way to that island and see if there's anything useful there.
Excellent. I'll continue to study what's been found. With luck, we'll both find some answers. Also, one of my research assistants, Colette, was investigating an old structure to the north. I'm not certain it's related to our investigation, but it couldn't hurt to check with her.
That name sounds familiar, and not just because of coal. But it's also quite possible that multiple people in this world are named the same thing. Just like they are in our world. It's an interesting trophy he has on the wall there. So it seems like this area is going to be a lot of interesting stuff here in his hut. Wow. They did a good job decorating this place. But yeah, it seems like, in a way, this expansion is going to be kind of just like, or this DLC is just basically another area to the game. Like, they could have easily just put it in the main game and used it there. But I'm okay that they didn't, because there's so much content in the base game. It doesn't feel like they're robbing you of content by pulling it out and putting it into the DLC, as they sometimes have done. So I'm okay with that. And it's also quite possible they didn't actually make this until after the game was released. They only have so much time to make so many areas. But they obviously don't exhaust their story possibilities, so they continue to make new ones and then release them as DLC. Which works for me. I'm happy to pay $10 for whatever this is, or in this case, just wait for the Supreme Edition Game of the Year or whatever. Alright, a letter to Harding from her mother, I guess. Alright, so a mysterious island may yield clues. We're heading to the island eventually, but first let's go clear this rift. And then we'll kind of circle around up by those camps and head over this way. Some noisy birds in these parts. pretty though. Again, they did a good job making the area similar to others, but also unique. I like those like treehouse things. We'll have to climb them in a little bit. Let's go close this rift first. So yeah, the other kind of reason that I didn't like the ending being so short is because my focus didn't even have a chance to fill up again. Like, I used it against Samson, and then that's as far as it got in the entire rest of the game. So there really should have been a lot more to it. And as I was kind of thinking about, well, yeah, what I would have done differently to make it a longer mission, it really seems, you know, kind of obvious. Besides what I said before about having Rift, or the breach itself, be the main quest, instead of him just suddenly opening a second breach, which seems like if he could open a breach any time, couldn't he also? I don't know. I guess because the spell that made the breach is the same spell that made the anchor. So it seems like if he could make another breach, couldn't he make another anchor? Like, they didn't fully explain that, which kind of annoyed me. So if it was the same breach all along, that would actually make a lot more sense plot-wise as well. But really, what they should have done would be you come back from the Ultra Mythal, and you find Gryphius and his armies already there besieging Skyhold. And of course your armies are still at the Shrine of Mythal, or whatever it's called, as they allude to numerous times. And it's really easy for them to give a motivation for Gryphius as well to come to Skyhold, because the last he saw you, you had escaped through an Alluvian. And yet you're back in the world again, obviously, which I'm sure it's not, you know, it's not kept a secret that the Inquisitor was back after that. So if Gryphius knew that, then he could put two and two together and realize, hey, they must have an Alluvian as well, probably at Skyhold. So that could have been his reason for attacking Skyhold, would be just to go there to use your Alluvian to enter the Fade. And they could have had you, you know, fighting your way back through Skyhold, using your defenses to actually make a difference, sort of like they did at Amaranthine, and have you and all your companions fighting to take it back from his forces, and they could have had your dragon fighting his dragon overhead, and culminating with the dragon fight. And when you eventually do get to the room with the Alluvian, you'd be just too late to see Gryphius make it through. You'd follow him through with, I guess, your final party of whatever last three you take with you. Yay, more influence that we don't really need. Oh, lots of good stuff here. Some Fade Touch Dawnstone. A nice Great Axe somebody might be able to use. Maybe Iron Bull, actually. Tier 4 rare metal. Huh, cool. So even though the game added crafting materials that you can get earlier in the game, it also added crafting materials you can only get here, apparently. But yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to be using any of these because I don't feel like doing any more crafting. I've done enough for one game. And I'm already... One of the reasons I think the final boss fight was easier than it should have been is because I have so much good gear. And it is only on normal modes. I probably could on hard mode to make it a little more interesting. But I do kind of wish... I mean, graphically it was really cool the way they did the final battle, but I do wish they would have made it more... have more mechanics to it. Because as I said at the time, the final battle in the second game, for all its pathing flaws, was a really cool idea of a battle. It was a fight that took the entire episode, and it felt really cool and really interesting. It was a really nice final battle against an ancient foe. So I feel like, compared to that one... Somebody just gets shot by an arrow. That's what it sounded like. Compared to that one, the second fight against Gryphius, against the Elder One, just wasn't as memorable, really. So yeah, this is a better axe, it looks like. So, yep, we'll give him that. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, pretty much the same thing, just different coloring, but we'll go with it. And we're going to head to this Ocularum next. But anyway, getting back to my version of the final ending, I would have had it so you had to, you know, fight your way through, fight the dragon, the Red Lyrium dragon, or what was left of it after it fought your dragon. Go through after him into the Fade.
You cannot go shirtless in front of the preeminent nobles of Orlais. Let us see.
Hey, I had a shirt in Halamsharal.
In Halamsharal, you are a blade of cheap iron. When I am done, you will shine like a gleaming dawnstone saber. A purple coat, tight at the waist, slashed with silver, emerald accents, open at the collar to accentuate your chest. Every woman will want you. Every man will want to be you.
Well, all right. Tell me more about the coat.
Alright. Ironbow and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, courtesy of Vivian. That's a line from James Bond, isn't it? Every woman wants him, every man wants to be him. Something like that. Alright, let's look through this. And then once you got into the Fade, you could have fought, more demons, obviously, and then culminating with Nightmare, who still needed to be killed. Like, that's a huge tangling plot strand, which I assume they're going to deal with in one of these DLCs. Not really sure which one. Maybe Trespasser? I guess that's the most likely to actually deal with the Fade. And that sort of stuff. But we'll see. Maybe Nightmare will end up being the big boss of the Inquisition saga, after all. There we go. And apparently they do have the same voice actor, or the same. He uses Crifius' voice when he's talking to you in the Fade, which again is confusing because he sounds like it's easy to get the two main villains confused in that case. All right, so let's get some shards then. I'm gonna make this my active quest for now. I guess, is there gonna be another? Because we had all the shards for the that we needed. Hopefully it's not gonna be pointless to get these. Maybe there'll be another tomb here you can open. That would be my hope and expectation. And now if you use other shards from other areas to open this, then you just have to get these shards to open the ones in the Oasis. It would make sense. Hopefully that's the case. Or maybe between the shards found here and in the other DLCs, there's enough to open something else. I suppose we'll find out. That was a good jump. So yeah, you get into the Fade, you defeat Nightmare, and then before the gates of the Black City, or whatever the final area is, then you fight Crifius once and for all with your final party members in the Fade. And it would even be a simple matter as, saying that the truth you got from the Well of Sorrows was that the only way to kill him and make him stay dead would be to kill him in the Fade, because in the Fade, the Blight exists apparently, at least according to Crifius it does, but there aren't really corrupted beings. Spirits can't be corrupted, we've already established that. So if you kill him in the Fade, his spirit can't jump anywhere else, and he would just die. I think that would be a really nice, consistent lore explanation. It kind of makes me mad that it was so obvious, and like, Bioware is such great writers, how did they not decide to do it this way? I can only assume it was a time thing, and they ran out of time to do a really cool ending like that, and maybe they did something similar planned. But again, at this point, you just think developers would realize you make the ending, if not first, a Tusket. A Tusket, a Tusket, a green, yellow musk. I don't know. But yeah, make the ending. Don't wait to do the ending last. Do like, the Emerald Graves last, or the Exalted Plains. Just do some random thing last, and that way if you have to make it a smaller zone, so be it. I am not getting anywhere closer to this thing, am I? I guess it's kind of like Guild Wars 2. There's like different levels to the forest. Aha, I see. Tricky, tricky. This does remind me of the Heart of Thorns expansion in Guild Wars 2. Not as complex, but same idea in play. Yeah, that could have been the reason that you could kill Crifius and he would stay dead. And it would actually make more sense than just, his power was in the Red Lyrium dragon, because obviously it wasn't the dragon that gave him that power. He had that power even when he was unimprisoned in Legacy. So you can only assume then that because he put some of his power into the Red Lyrium dragon, which maybe he used to control the Templars, maybe that's the Red Lyrium connection. Although he also had the Red Lyrium grafted into him, so they never really explain any of that, and you can it's not so out there that it couldn't make sense. It's just kind of, it doesn't intuitively make as much sense as saying something like, if you kill him in the Fade, he has nowhere for his soul to escape to, thus he dies. That makes a lot of sense. In the same way that a Grey Warden killing an Archdemon makes sense, because the soul travels to their body, but it's the same body where there is a soul. Although, then again, saying that, it doesn't make as much sense either for Crifius to be able to transfer his soul to a Grey Warden, as he's done twice now at least. Because don't they have souls already, and wouldn't that destroy both souls? That's the lore that was established. So again, doesn't really make a ton of sense there either. But yeah, that's kind of a plot hole that the writers need to fill in at some point. Or we can just ignore until then, I suppose, if they ever do. Evrite. We don't really need this for anything. So yeah, that's my complaint about the ending, is that it was a fine ending. It was just, I really hate when a game does an awesome job. Like Inquisition, it's an awesome game. I highly recommend playing it. I've had a lot of fun playing it, but the writers or the designers just couldn't stick the landing. The ending just didn't live up to the rest of the game in terms of either its coolness as a final boss fight. It was okay, but wasn't that great, and its length was just, the Temple of Mythal was great, but it was great as a first part. If the altar and the or even if the altar had been the same size, but the ending itself had been, you fight your way through Skyhold, and you fight your way through the Fade one more time, that would have been really cool. And I think it was Angry Joe's review that mentioned too that the ending was also missing that aspect of making it feel like your earlier decisions mattered, like Mass Effect 2 did, as well as any other game I've ever seen. That's what this game should have had if it really wanted to be the perfect game. They should have had decisions involving your companions in the final stretch of battle, where your companions, at least some of them, could have lived or died, depending on the choices you make. I think that would have been a really epic ending that people would have celebrated and lauded. So, it was an okay ending, but an okay ending to a really good game just doesn't quite do it. They should have at least made a good ending to a good game, and it had the potential to be an awesome ending. But that's the last of the shards, and I think I'm probably done talking about the ending now. So, yeah. In a perfect world, that's what I would have had happen, but it is not a perfect world. And hopefully the DLC, to some degree, will make up for that, and hopefully Trespasser especially will be a cool ending. So at least we can end our Let's Play on a high note. Okay, I think we've actually been playing this a while. So we're going to head to the next camp, and once we make camp here, I'm probably going to end this episode. But I'm done all my naysaying. There are two cool things I do want to talk about in the next game, in the next episode a little bit. One of which is that awesome cutscene that I was kind of disappointed, as I was saying at the end of the last Let's Play episode. Can I cross through here? Are those Venatori? Sound like it. Or are they Avar? Oh, they're Avar. The Lowlanders! But they were doing a chant that sounded a lot like the Venatori. I guess that was just a reused sound file. Let's kill this bruiser, we'll weaken him. Some fire spells, that's what we're good at doing. He's not taking much damage. Why are we not attacking him? Go attack him! Guard up now. My fire mine back down again. Whoa, that was good. I don't know why that line is there. Is that Iron Bull's axe have a spell? Where are you going? Come back here. Face your death. Almost another level.
The jaws of Hakkon don't like us much. What do we do this time?
Feelings mutual.
Perhaps the friendlier Avar in the village Harding mentioned can shed some light.
I hope so. Interesting opportunity for some new backstory here. Alright, maybe this will get us some XP. I don't remember if making camps gives XP or not. It gives you influence, but not experience. So we'll have to level up next time. And I don't know if there's anything we really want to get. Although I did read that you actually unlock those extra points in the Inquisitor tree in the DLC itself as part of the storylines. I don't remember which DLC. I think one of them is from Trespasser. I don't know if the other one is from the Descent or from this one, but I suppose we'll find out. So I may just save my skill points anyway, since I think there's a level 28 level cap. I read that somewhere. Could be totally wrong, but I might save them so that we can actually upgrade those trees at some point anyway. We don't run out of skill points. This tree here, we got a branch to the left and a branch to the right. You may not even need level up points though to fill these in. They might just be filled in automatically, kind of like this one was. But just in case, I want to wait and see. So yeah, I will talk about that ending cutscene, which had me really excited when I saw it, and about some other stuff that I've read up about in the intervening week as well. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in episode 123.